The knock on the door came at midnight. 3 sharp raps that cut through the howling wind outside Jack Miller's cabin. Jack lowered his book and frowned. Nobody should be out in this storm. Nobody even knew his cabin existed this deep in the Montana wilderness. Another knock, more urgent this time. Jack grabbed his shotgun from beside the fireplace. He didn't expect trouble, but 10 years living alone in the woods had taught him caution. "Who's there?" he called, standing to the side of the door. No answer came. Just another knock, weaker than before. Jack peered through the small window next to the door. The porch light revealed a figure huddled against the blizzard, wrapped in something that glittered strangely in the yellow light. Curiosity overcame caution. Jack unlocked the door and pulled it open. Freezing wind rushed in, carrying snowflakes that melted instantly in the cabin's warmth. The figure stumbled forward, nearly falling. Jack caught them by the shoulders. "Hey, take it easy," he said. "Are you hurt? Lost?" The hood fell back, and Jack's words died in his throat. He was not looking at a human face. The skin was smooth, the color of the summer sky just after sunset. Large eyes, too large, opened to reveal pupils of deep violet. A small mouth with no visible lips opened and closed, making clicking sounds. Jack's grip on the shotgun tightened. The creature raised a 6-fingered hand in what seemed like a peaceful gesture. A small device hanging from its neck lit up. "Please," came a female voice from the device. "Help me." Jack blinked, his mind racing to catch up with what his eyes were seeing. An alien. A real, actual alien was standing in his doorway, asking for help. "What are you?" he managed to ask. "Cold," the alien replied, its entire body shaking now. "So cold. My kind. Cannot survive this temperature. Need warmth, or I die." Jack hesitated only a second before stepping back. "Come in." The alien moved, slowly into the cabin. Jack shut the door against the storm and watched as the creature approached the fireplace like a moth to flame. "Thank you," the translator device said, as the alien extended delicate blue hands toward the fire. "My name is Valkara. I am Huntress of the Kyridian people." "Jack," he replied, still keeping his distance. "Jack Miller." Valkara nodded, her strange eyes fixed on the dancing flames. "Good human. Kind human." "Your English is good," Jack said, trying to wrap his head around the situation. "Translation device," Valkara explained, touching the small pendant at her neck. "It learns quickly." Jack set his shotgun aside but remained standing, watching his unexpected visitor. The alien, Valkara, was slender, maybe 5.5 feet tall. Her body was covered in a tight-fitting suit that seemed to shimmer with its own inner light. But despite the suit, she was clearly freezing. "What happened to you?" Jack asked. "Why are you here?" Valkara turned from the fire to face him. "My ship crashed 5 miles north. Navigation error. Was not prepared for your planet's magnetic field." She shivered again. "Was lucky to find your heat signature. No other life forms nearby." "No other," Jack started, then understood. "You scanned for people?" "Yes. You were closest. Had to try." Valkyra's legs suddenly buckled. She caught herself on the stone hearth. Jack moved forward without thinking, his arm around her shoulders to steady her. Her body felt ice cold even through her suit. "Hey, you're not doing so good," he said, his caution giving way to concern. "Let's get you warmer." He led her to his old couch directly in front of the fireplace and helped her sit. Then he piled every blanket he owned around her. "Thank you," Valkara said, her voice weaker now. "My species, cold-blooded, cannot make own heat." Jack nodded. "Like a reptile." Valkara made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Not reptile, but similar problem." Jack built up the fire, adding more logs until the flames roared. Then he went to the kitchen and returned with a mug of hot water. "Drink this," he said, offering it to her. "Carefully. It's hot." Valkara took the mug in both hands. Her fingers, long and delicate with an extra joint wrapped around it. She held it close to her face, seeming to absorb the heat through her skin before taking a small sip. "Good," she murmured. "Heat helps." Jack sat in his armchair watching her. The initial shock was wearing off, replaced by 1,000 questions. "So," he said, "you're an alien." Valkara nodded. "Yes, not from your world." "And you crashed your spaceship?" "Yes, scout vessel, small but fast." She took another sip. "Was damaged entering atmosphere." "Can you fix it?" Jack asked. Valkyra's expression changed subtly, a slight drooping of her eyes that somehow conveyed sadness. "Not possible. Too damaged. Power core ruptured." The implication sank in. "So you're stuck here?" "Yes." Valkara looked directly at him. "Must ask more help. Cannot survive winter here without shelter." Jack ran a hand through his beard. 5 minutes ago, his biggest concern had been whether he had enough firewood to last until spring. Now he was talking to an alien stranded on Earth. "Why were you coming to Earth anyway?" he asked. Valkara seemed to hesitate. "Observation mission. Hi, people. Study other worlds. Other life." Something in her tone made Jack wonder if she was telling the whole truth. But then again, what did he know about alien body language, and nobody knows you're here? "No. Space rescue team coming to get you?" Valkara shook her head. "No signal sent before crash. No one knows." Outside, the wind howled louder, rattling. The windows of the cabin. The storm was getting worse, Jack sighed. "Well, you can stay here until we figure something out. Not much choice with that blizzard anyway." Relief showed clearly on Valkyra's alien features. "Thank you, Jack Miller. I will not forget this kindness." As the night deepened, Jack made up a bed for his strange guest near the fireplace. Valkyra's condition improved as her body temperature rose and she began to move more easily. Jack lay awake in his own bed, listening to the storm and trying to make sense of the day's events. An alien. In his cabin. The universe suddenly seemed much larger and much stranger than it had this morning. What would happen when the storm cleared? What would he do with a stranded alien huntress? And what exactly was she hunting? Tomorrow would bring answers. For now, the storm raged on, and two very different beings from two very different worlds waited it out together in a small cabin in the Montana wilderness. Morning came with clear skies and brilliant sunshine that made the snow-covered landscape sparkle. The storm had passed, leaving 3 feet of fresh powder outside Jack's cabin. Jack woke early, his mind still struggling with the events of the previous night. Had it been a dream? Had he really invited an alien into his home? The smell of something burning answered his question. He jumped out of bed and rushed to the main room to find Valkyra standing by the stove, looking confused as smoke rose from a pan. "I tried to make food," she explained, her translator device, turning her clicks and chirps into English. "Your cooking tools are strange." Jack hurried over and moved the pan off the heat. "It's okay. Let me handle breakfast." As he cooked eggs and bacon, Jack watched Valkara moving around his cabin. In daylight, her alien features were even more obvious. Her blue skin had a slight shimmer to it, and she moved with a grace that seemed almost liquid. "Your color is coming back," Jack noted. "You look better." Valkara nodded. "The warmth saved my life. My body needs heat to function." They ate at Jack's small table. Valkara studied the food carefully before trying it, but seemed to enjoy it once she started eating. "So," Jack said, "now that you're not dying, maybe you can tell me more about why you're really here." Valkara set down her fork. "What do you mean?" "Last night you said you were on an observation mission, but you also called yourself a huntress." Jack leaned forward. "Hunters hunt things. What are you hunting, Valkara?" For a long moment, she was silent. Then she sighed, a strangely human sound coming from her alien mouth. "You are perceptive, Jack Miller. Yes, I am a huntress. I track and capture dangerous beings that threaten peace." "Like a cop?" Jack asked. "Similar, yes. What your people might call law enforcement." She met his gaze directly. "I came to Earth tracking someone, Someone very dangerous. Jack felt a chill that had nothing to do with the winter outside. Another alien? Here on Earth? Valkara nodded. His name is Doran. He is a criminal, a destroyer of worlds. That sounds serious, Jack said, keeping his voice calm despite the alarm bells ringing in his head. It is very serious, Valkara agreed. Doran belongs to a group called the Shapers. They believe they have the right to change any world they find to suit their needs. Change how? By altering the basic building blocks of life, what you call DNA. Valkara's expression darkened. They introduce small changes to key species, changes that spread and grow over generations until the entire ecosystem collapses. Jack tried to wrap his mind around what she was saying. So this Doran guy is here to mess with Earth's animals? Why? To make Earth suitable for his kind, Valkara explained. The Shapers see other worlds as resources to be harvested. They care nothing for native life. The implications were staggering. Jack pushed his plate away, his appetite gone. And now you're stuck here and this Doran is still out there somewhere. Yes. Valkara looked down at her hands. My mission was to find him and call for backup. With my ship destroyed, I cannot contact my people. So what happens now? Jack asked. Valkara raised her eyes to his. I must still find Doran and stop him, but I will need help. Jack laughed without humor. You want my help to catch an alien criminal? I'm just a guy who fixes computers. I moved out here to get away from people, not to save the world from alien invasion. I understand your reluctance, Valkara said softly. But I have no one else to turn to. And if Doran succeeds, your world will die slowly. First the animals, then the plants, then your people. Jack stood up and walked to the window. The forest stretched out before him, pristine and beautiful in its winter coat. The thought of it all being destroyed was unbearable. How would we even find this guy? He asked finally. Valkara pulled a small device from a pocket in her suit. It looked like a flat stone with strange symbols carved into its surface. This tracker still works. It can detect Doran's biological signature. She tapped the device and it lit up with a soft blue glow. He is far from here, in a place your people call New Mexico. New Mexico? Jack turned back to her. That's over, 1,000 miles away. Is that far? Valkara asked. A few days' drive at least. Jack ran a hand through his hair. Look, this is crazy. We can't just road trip across the country hunting aliens. We must, Valkara insisted. Each day gives Doran more time to implement his plan. Already he may have begun altering your wildlife. Jack thought about it. He had savings. His truck was reliable, and it wasn't like he had pressing business here. At the cabin. I'd need to make some arrangements, he said slowly. Stock up on supplies, winterize the cabin. Hope flickered in Valkara's violet eyes. You will help? The question hung in the air between them. Jack knew he should say no. This wasn't his fight. He had chosen this isolated life specifically to avoid drama and danger. But looking at Valkara, he felt something he hadn't felt in years. Purpose. I'll help, he said finally. But we do this my way. No alien tech in public, no drawing attention. We find this Doran guy, and then figure out how to stop him without getting killed or arrested. Valkara stood and approached him. She placed a 6-fingered hand on his arm, her touch warmer now, almost matching human body temperature. Thank you, Jack Miller. Your courage honors your species. Jack smiled despite himself. Let's save the compliments until after we survive this. They spent the day preparing. Jack packed clothes, tools, weapons, and food. He showed Valkara how to use basic human items like the bathroom and kitchen appliances. She was a quick learner, watching everything with keen interest. Your species adapts well, she observed as Jack taught her how to use a cell phone. This will serve us on our journey. What about you? Jack asked. You're obviously not human. How do we explain you to people we meet? Valkara touched her face thoughtfully. My people have technology for such problems. From a compartment in her suit, she removed a small disc. When she pressed it to her neck, Her appearance shimmered and changed. Suddenly, she looked human. Pale skin, normal eyes, 5 fingers instead of 6. It's a projection, she explained, her voice sounding the same through the translator. It will fool casual observers. Jack stared in amazement. That's convenient. By evening, they were ready. The plan was to leave at first light, taking Jack's truck down the mountain and heading south toward New Mexico. As they sat by the fire that night, Jack found himself studying his alien companion. 24 hours ago, his biggest worry had been having enough firewood. Now he was preparing to hunt a dangerous alien criminal with the help of another alien. "Why are you looking at me that way?" Valkyra asked. "Just thinking about how weird life is," Jack replied honestly. "Yesterday I was alone in these woods. Now I'm planning a cross-country alien hunt." Valkyra's mouth curved in what might have been a smile. "Life is full of unexpected paths." "That's one way to put it," Jack agreed. Outside, an owl hooted in the darkness. The sound was so normal, so Earth-like, that it made the whole situation seem even more surreal. Tomorrow they would begin their journey. Jack had no idea what lay ahead, but one thing was certain: nothing would ever be the same again. The old truck groaned as Jack guided it down the snowy mountain road. Beside him, Valkyra stared out the window, fascinated by everything she saw. "Your world has such variety," she said, watching a deer bound away into the trees. "So many different life forms. That's what we're trying to save, right?" Jack kept his eyes on the road. The plow hadn't come through yet, making driving tricky. "Yes." Valkyra touched the window glass. "Doran would destroy this balance, replace it with something artificial." They reached the main highway by noon. Jack stopped at a small gas station to refuel and buy supplies. Valkyra waited in the truck, her disguise making her look like an ordinary woman with pale skin and dark hair. "Stay here," Jack told her. "And remember, no alien talk," she finished for him. "I understand." Inside the store, Jack grabbed snacks, coffee, and a map. The cashier, an older man with a gray beard, nodded as Jack approached the counter. "Heading south?" the man asked, noting the map. "Yeah," Jack replied. "Road trip." The man glanced out the window at Valkyra waiting in the truck. "Nice to have company. These mountains get lonely." Jack followed his gaze. From a distance, Valkyra could pass for human. But up close there was something off about her movements, too fluid, too precise. "She's not from around here," Jack said. The cashier laughed. "None of us are, son. That's why we come to Montana. To get away." Jack paid and returned to the truck. As they pulled back onto the highway, Valkyra turned her tracking device over in her hands. "Doran is moving," she said. "No longer in New Mexico. He travels north." Jack frowned. "Toward us?" "No. East from his previous location." She studied the device. "To a place called Colorado." "Denver, maybe," Jack muttered. "Big city, easy to hide." They drove all day, stopping only for gas and bathroom breaks. Jack showed Valkyra how to use a human restroom, waiting anxiously outside until she emerged. "Your waste disposal systems are inefficient," she commented. Jack laughed. "Not something I ever thought about, but okay." By evening they had crossed into Wyoming. The flat landscape stretched out around them, vast and empty under the darkening sky. "We should stop soon," Jack said, noticing Valkyra's drooping eyelids. "You need rest." "Kiridians do not need as much sleep as humans," she protested, but her voice was tired. "Maybe not, but I do." Jack pointed to a sign for a motel. "And I'm driving." The motel was small and cheap, just off the highway. Jack paid cash for a room with 2 beds, avoiding the clerk's curious glance at his unusual companion. Their room was basic: 2 beds, a bathroom, and a small TV. Jack checked the heater first thing, turning it up for Valkyra's comfort. "Stay here while I get our bags," he told her. When he returned, Valkyra was watching the TV with fascination. "Your world communicates this way?" she asked. "One of many ways," Jack replied, setting down their bags. That's the news. What's happening? Around the country. They watched together as the reporter talked about strange animal behavior in Colorado. Wild animals had been spotted in unusual places, mountain lions in suburbs, bears approaching hikers, birds gathering in huge flocks. That's him, Valkara said, suddenly alert. That's Doran's work beginning. Jack sat beside her on the bed. You sure? Animals act weird sometimes. Not like this. Not all at once. Valkara pointed at the screen. He has started altering their behavior, making them more aggressive, more territorial. The report ended, and Jack turned off the TV. If you're right, we need to get to Colorado fast. Yes. Valkara's face was grim. But we must be careful. Doran is dangerous, and he will sense another Kyridian nearby. How dangerous are we talking? Jack asked. Like gun dangerous? Bomb dangerous? Worse. Valkara touched her translator device, adjusting something. Doran can manipulate genetic material with a touch. He can change living things instantly. Jack swallowed hard. He can change people too? Yes. But it takes more effort with complex life forms. She looked at Jack. Still, we must not let him touch us. Jack ran a hand through his hair. Great. We're tracking a guy who can mutate us with a touch, and our plan is... I have a containment device, Valkara said. It will neutralize his abilities, but I must get close to use it. And that's where I come in? Yes. Valkara's violet eyes, visible now as her disguise faded in private, met his. I need you to help me get close. Jack nodded slowly. Okay. But no suicide missions. We're both coming out of this alive. Valkara's mouth curved in that not-quite smile. That would be preferable. They slept uneasily that night. Jack woke several times, startled by strange dreams of changing animals and blue-skinned hunters. Each time he saw Valkara sitting awake by the window watching the stars. Do you ever sleep? He asked during one such moment. When necessary, she replied softly. Tonight I think of home. Do you miss it? Yes. Her voice was soft in the darkness. My world is warmer than yours. The sky is deeper blue. The plants move with the wind like dancers. Sounds nice, Jack said. It is beautiful. She turned to him. But your world has its own beauty. These white mountains. The deer in the forest. The endless sky. Jack watched her silhouette against the window. If we stop Doran, will your people come for you? Perhaps. If I can send a signal. She paused. Does that concern you? Just wondering if I'll be in trouble for helping an alien, Jack said with a small laugh. My people do not interfere with developing worlds, Valkara assured him. Your secret would be safe. That's not what I meant, Jack said, but didn't explain. Further. Morning came with new snow. They ate breakfast at a diner across from the motel. Valkara, disguised again as human, studied the menu with confusion. Just order what I get, Jack suggested quietly. The waitress brought them eggs, bacon, and pancakes. Valkara watched Jack, then copied his movements with the fork and knife. Your food is strange, she whispered. But good. After breakfast, they returned to the road. The highway stretched before them, leading toward Colorado and the dangerous alien waiting there. How will we find him once we reach Denver? Jack asked. Valkara held up her tracking device. This will lead us closer, but we must be careful. If he senses us coming, he'll run, or worse. Yes. Valkara looked out at the snowy landscape. Or worse. They drove in silence for a while, each lost in thought. Jack found himself glancing at Valkara more often than necessary. Despite her alien nature, or perhaps because of it, he felt drawn to her. Jack, Valkara said suddenly, breaking the silence. Thank you for helping me. Many would not. Jack shrugged. I'm not sure many would believe you're an alien huntress. No. But even believing many would fear me, see me as a threat. She touched his arm lightly. You saw someone who needed help. That's just basic decency, Jack replied, embarrassed by her praise. Perhaps, but it is rare in the universe. Valkera looked ahead at the road. That is why worlds like yours are worth saving. The border of Colorado appeared ahead. Somewhere beyond it, an alien was changing the natural order of things, and only they knew about it. Ready? Jack asked as they passed the welcome sign. Valkera nodded, her expression determined. Ready. The hunt was on. Denver rose before them, a city of glass and steel nestled against the mountains. Jack drove carefully through the busy streets while Valkera watched the tracking device in her lap. He is close, she said quietly. Very close. Jack glanced at the device. The pulsing light at its center was blinking faster now. Where exactly? He asked. Valkera pointed ahead. That building, the tall one with the blue glass. Jack followed her finger to a sleek skyscraper in the distance. A sign on its side read, Biogen Research. A science lab, Jack muttered. Makes sense, he'd need equipment for his work. They found a parking garage 2 blocks away and left the truck there. Walking toward the Biogen building, Jack felt increasingly nervous. They had no plan beyond finding Doran. How do we get inside? He asked Valkera. That place will have security. Valkera touched the small pouch at her waist. I have tools that can help. But we must be careful. Doran will sense another Caridian nearby. The Biogen building loomed over them as they approached. Men and women in lab coats and business suits streamed in and out through revolving doors. Security guards stood at attention inside the lobby. We can't just walk in, Jack said. No. Valkera studied the building. We need a different entrance. They circled the block looking for another way in. Behind the building, they found a loading dock where trucks were delivering supplies. There, Valkera said. Deliveries. Less security. They watched as workers unloaded boxes from a truck. When the workers went inside with a load, Jack and Valkera slipped behind the truck and waited. When they come back out, we go in, Jack whispered. Valkera nodded, her hand resting on a small device at her belt. The containment unit she had mentioned. Jack touched the knife in his pocket. It wasn't much against someone who could change your DNA with a touch, but it was all he had. The workers returned, laughing about something. As they went to the truck for another load, Jack and Valkera slipped past them and through the loading dock doors. Inside, they found themselves in a large storage room filled with boxes and equipment. A door at the far end led deeper into the Yao building. Which way? Jack asked. Valkera consulted her tracker. Up, several floors up. They found a service elevator near the back of the storage room. Jack pushed the button and they waited tensely for the doors to open. If we run into anyone, Jack said, you do the talking. You're the one with the fancy disguise. Very well. Valkera straightened her jacket, looking remarkably human in her disguise. I will say we are inspectors. The elevator arrived with a soft ding. They stepped inside and Valkera pushed the button for the 15th floor. How do you know which floor? Jack asked. She held up the tracker. The signal is strongest there. The elevator rose smoothly. Jack's stomach tightened with each passing floor. What exactly would they do when they found Doran? What if he wasn't alone? The doors opened on the 15th floor to reveal a sterile hallway with white walls and bright lights. Signs on doors read, Laboratory 1, Laboratory 2, and so on. Valkera checked her tracker again. This way. They moved quietly down the hallway, passing closed doors and empty rooms. Most of the labs had windows, allowing them to peek inside without entering. They saw scientists working with equipment Jack didn't recognize. What are they doing? He whispered. Genetic research, Valkera replied. Some of it legitimate, some of it Doran's work. They reached a door marked restricted area, authorized personnel only. Valkera's tracker pulsed rapidly near it. He's in there, she whispered. Jack tried the handle. Locked. Now what? Valkara pulled a small device from her pocket. It looked like a silver pen with a glowing tip. She pressed it against the electronic lock, and the light turned from red to green. Convenient, Jack muttered as the door clicked open. They slipped inside and found themselves in a darkened laboratory. Unlike the others, this one had no windows to the hallway. Large machines hummed along the walls, and glass containers filled, with strange liquids lined the shelves. In the center of the room stood a tall figure bent over a workstation. At their entrance, he straightened and turned. Jack's breath caught in his throat. The being before them was clearly not human. Though humanoid in shape, his skin was pale gray with a metallic sheen. His eyes were solid black without whites or pupils. Long fingers ended in sharp points that looked more like tools than nails. "Valkara," Doran said, his voice oddly musical. "How unexpected." Valkara stepped forward, her disguise falling away to reveal her true Caridian form. "Doran, your work ends here." Doran's black eyes shifted to Jack. "And you've brought a pet. How charming." Jack bristled, but kept silent. This was Valkara's show for now. "The changes you've begun will be reversed," Valkara said firmly. "You will. Return with me to face justice." Doran laughed, a sound like glass breaking. "Justice? For improving this backward planet? These humans destroy their own world daily. I'm saving them from themselves." "It's not your world to save," Jack said, unable to stay quiet any longer. "Or destroy." Doran's black eyes fixed on him. "It speaks, and with such passion." He moved toward a large container on the counter. Inside, Jack could see something moving. Animals, small ones scurrying around. "Do you know what I've done here, human? I've created the next step in evolution for your planet's creatures." He lifted the container. "These rodents carry a genetic modification that will spread to all mammals they contact. It enhances aggression, territory seeking, reproduction rates. Within 10 years, your predators will multiply beyond control. Prey animals will be hunted to extinction. The ecosystem will collapse." His voice was proud, as if explaining a great achievement. "And then you'll step in to fix it," Valkara said coldly. "With your own designs?" "Precisely." Doran set down the container. "A better world, a controlled world." "You're insane," Jack said. Doran shrugged. "Visionaries are often called mad by the small-minded." Valkara's hand moved toward the device at her belt. "You will not release those creatures, Doran." "Oh, but I already have." Doran smiled, revealing teeth too sharp to be human. "Hundreds of them, all across this continent." "It's already begun." Jack felt cold fear spread through him. If Doran was telling the truth, they were too late. "But don't worry," Doran continued, moving toward another workstation. "I've kept the antidote, just in case my superiors disagree with my methods." He picked up a small vial of glowing blue liquid. "This can reverse the changes, if administered before the 5th generation of mutations." "Give us the antidote," Valkara demanded. Doran laughed again. "Why would I do that? You've lost, Huntress. Accept it." In a single fluid motion, Valkara pulled the containment device from her belt and activated it. A beam of blue light shot toward Doran, but he was faster than she expected. He ducked aside and the beam hit the wall behind him, scorching the white surface. "Too slow," Doran hissed. He lunged forward, his sharp fingers reaching for Valkara's throat. Jack reacted without thinking. He threw himself between them, shoving Doran back with all his strength. The alien stumbled against a counter, knocking over equipment with a crash. "Run!" Jack yelled to Valkara. "Get the device ready again." Doran recovered quickly, his black eyes fixed on Jack with pure hatred. "Foolish human. You could have lived through the change." He came at Jack with frightening speed. Jack dodged the first swing but felt Doran's sharp fingers graze his arm on the second. A burning sensation spread from the spot. "Jack," Valkara called from across the room. She had the containment device ready again, its blue light charging. "Do it!" Jack yelled, diving aside. The blue beam shot across the lab, hitting Doran squarely in the chest. He froze mid-motion, his body suddenly encased in a shimmering field of energy. "No," he screamed, his voice distorted by the field. "You don't understand what you're doing." Jack stood slowly, his arm still burning where Doran had touched him. "Did it work?" Valkara nodded, approaching the contained alien carefully. "He cannot move or use his abilities now." Jack looked at the scratch on his arm. "He touched me. Will I change?" Valkara quickly examined the wound. "The contact was brief, and we have this." She reached for the vial Doran had shown them, the antidote. "This will neutralize any changes," he began. Relief washed over Jack. They had done it. They had captured Doran and found the cure for his genetic modifications. "What now?" he asked. Valkara looked at the contained Doran, then at Jack. "Now we save your world." 1 month after capturing Doran, Jack stood on the porch of his cabin watching the snow fall. The world looked peaceful, unaware of how close it had come to destruction. The door opened behind him. Valkara stepped out, holding 2 steaming mugs. "Still cold out here," she said, handing him one of the mugs. "But beautiful." Jack smiled. "You're getting used to it." After their success in Denver, they had worked quickly. Valkara used Doran's antidote to create more doses. Government officials, sworn to secrecy, helped them track down all the modified animals and treat them. Doran remained contained in a special cell, awaiting transport off-planet. "Any word from your people?" Jack asked, sipping the hot coffee. Valkara shook her head. "The signal is sent, but space is vast. It may be weeks before they receive it." Jack nodded, trying to hide his mixed feelings. Part of him hoped her people would come quickly to take Doran away. Another part hoped they would take their time. "What will happen to him?" Jack asked. "Justice," Valkara replied simply. "His actions endangered an entire world. The penalty is severe." They stood side by side, watching the falling snow. Jack's arm, where Doran had scratched him, was fully healed. The antidote had worked perfectly. "And what about you?" Jack finally asked the question that had been on his mind for weeks. "Will you go back with them?" Valkara was quiet for a long moment. "I am a huntress. My duty is to return." Jack's heart sank, though he had expected this answer. "Of course. But duty is not everything." Valkara turned to face him. Her blue skin seemed to glow in the winter light. "My people live long lives. Perhaps I could stay, for a time." Hope rose in Jack's chest. "How long is a time?" Valkara's mouth curved in, that now familiar almost smile. "Long enough to learn more about Earth, about humans." Her violet eyes met his. "About you." Jack set his mug down on the porch railing and took her free hand in his. Her skin, once ice cold when she'd first knocked on his door, was now warm to the touch. "I'd like that," he said. "When I first came here," Valkara said softly, "I needed your warmth to survive the cold." She placed her hand over his heart. "Now I find I need it for other reasons." Jack leaned closer. "Like what?" "Like this." Valkara closed the distance between them and pressed her lips to his in a gentle kiss. Jack was surprised at first, then wrapped his arms around her. Her body felt different from a human's, lighter with a strange fluidity to her movements, but she fit perfectly against him. When they broke apart, Jack laughed softly. "So aliens kiss too?" "We have similar customs," Valkara replied. "Though, I learned this specific technique from your television programs." "You're a quick study," Jack said, still holding her close. In the distance, a bright light suddenly appeared in the sky. It grew larger, moving toward them. Valkara stiffened in his arms. "They're here." Jack looked up at the approaching spacecraft, his arms tightening around Valkara. "That was fast." "Faster than expected," she agreed. The ship hovered over the clearing, near Jack's cabin, its engines creating a gentle wind that swept the snow into swirling patterns. It was smaller than Jack had imagined, sleek and silver like a teardrop. "What happens now?" Jack asked. his voice barely audible over the soft hum of the alien engines. Valkyra took his hand firmly in hers. Now we greet them together. Together, Jack repeated, finding strength in the word. The ship's lights flashed once, twice, 3 times, a signal Valkyra clearly understood. They know I'm here, she said. They're asking if I need immediate extraction or if I have the situation under control. And what will you tell them? Valkyra smiled. A full smile this time that transformed her alien features into something beautiful and familiar. I will tell them, she said, that I have found warmth in the coldest place, and I'm not ready to leave it yet. Hand in hand, they watched as a hatch opened on the side of the ship. Whatever came next, they would face it together. The human who had opened his door to an alien, and the huntress who had found much more than shelter in his warmth. The end.